ALTBAYS. ALTBAYS. ALTBAYS.
Hello, peace, my brothers and sisters. We're live with ALTBAYS Show, brought to you by ALTBAYS.nz. For the ones who don't know, ALTBAYS.nz, it's a media support company established here in Whitianga, and we offer a bunch of cool services with video productions, digital marketing, social media management. So if you're looking into increasing your online presence with some very good material, get in touch with us, okay? ALTBAYS.nz is also the house of ALTBAYS Studios here in Whitianga too, where we host the ALTBAYS Show. Okay, so if you would like to host your own podcast, or if you have ideas for like webinars, or if you want to do some live meetings with your crew, with your business friends, you're getting friends, broken English, friends, you get in touch with us. I'm not using a script, so gotta ease into it. So if you need the space for anything, you let us know, and we'll get you sorted. Okay. The best way to support our show is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on YouTube and Twitch, okay? And as soon as this show is done on YouTube, the video becomes available, and then on the next day, you can listen to this interview on all the podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio. We're everywhere. Just pick your favorite one, okay? Such a cool day. Like, we're having an amazing long weekend. Our friends from Hula Cafe, they shouted us some nice little treats for tonight's show. And our friend Adam from Blue Fridge Brewery, he sent us some nice beer as well. So I'm going to start talking to Christine here.
Hello.
How is the beer? How are you, Christine?
It's actually really good. Like, I
don't
drink a hell of a lot of beer, but I don't mind it.
Can you show us what's the name of the...
This is Coro Days Extra Pale Ale. Cans are cool. Whoever does your artistry, it's very cool.
Yeah, I love the artwork.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job.
I love it.
It's a brewery in Kuatsuna for the ones who don't know, and Adam is a great guy. So yeah, Blue Fridge Brewery, have a look. How are you?
How are you? I'm good.
I'm good. Way better now.
Yeah, I reckon. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. It's been a nice journey the last few days, but I'm glad to be back.
Nice.
How are the kids?
Good.
School holidays?
Yeah, day one.
Day one.
Love it.
Oh, counting the days.
For me here.
You actually like the school holidays?
I love the school holidays. Yeah, we've got nowhere to be. Kids are cool. Yeah, they just chill, do stuff at home.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's
love
good.
it.
Christine, tonight we have the pleasure to have a chat with a very good man in front of us, Mr. Leigh Hopper. Hey. How's it going, Leigh?
Yeah, great. Thanks. Yeah.
Good, man. So I'm so glad you made it.
Thank you for rearranging a few things.
I almost say we dodged here, we turned there.
You saved my bacon, mate.
Oh man, I bet your wife is pretty happy that you came to the show today, Monday.
Yeah, she'll be pretty happy.
So can you just tell us what happened very quickly?
Well, I do this occasionally, but I double booked my wife's 60th birthday. So yeah.
So ALTBAYS managed.
Yeah, we're back on track now,
Yeah,
and
back on track.
There's no threat to the marriage yet.
So you got married recently, eh? Like what, a year ago or so?
Yeah, a little over a year ago. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Third timer.
Third timer? Yeah.
Oh.
It's not that bad. It's not as bad as it sounds. I lost my second wife after a long happy marriage to cancer. But anyway, so I'm lucky to have met another lady, and we're getting on great. And she's moved here with me to Whitianga, and life's great.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Third marriage. I haven't managed to get one yet. So
Oh, that's all right.
I know, because that's the thing. Eh? Like I was when you confirmed, when you said you were coming to the show, I was like, man, I gotta ask this. You know, like I was thinking about a lot of questions, but there was this one question that I was like, I gotta ask Leigh, because he will get it. He will understand, right? I'm losing hair, man.
Well, as you can see, I've lost mine, so it's just time.
Cool. So I told my mom, because I haven't seen my mom for maybe like 6 years. So I said, Mom, it's getting to a point that it's hard to hide.
Just embrace it.
I know, right?
Embrace it.
And but then I said, Mom, should I shave it? And she was like, you might as well get some money before you shave their hair, because you know the girls like the hair, man. And I'm like, I'm gonna ask Leigh.
No, it's all a fallacy, mate. Don't worry about it.
No, embrace it, eh?
You just don't comb it over.
Oh, yeah.
Don't try to grow the beard and like make a loop.
No, it makes you look silly.
Yeah.
No. When was the moment that you were like, that's it, I'm gonna shave it from now? Do you remember the age? Like first time you?
Well, I started losing my hair about the year I left secondary school. I think I was probably about 17 or something. So,
damn. Early start.
So I could see it was all going. You know, I was one of those young surfy guys with long hair.
Yeah.
And it all started to recede from the front. So
Right.
you might as well shave it off at that point.
Yeah.
Did you try the mullet thing?
No.
No, because the surfers, they
Well, like, do you
love
start
the-
committing to a hat a bit too much? Like, I'll be a cap man. Just wear a hat everywhere.
Yeah, no, you got to wear it. Well, you do now. You
Yeah.
can't go outside without a hat on.
That's right.
There you go. Just embrace it. Wear a hat.
Okay, cool.
Sunblock.
Thanks, guys. Hey, the sunblock. Hey,
Yeah.
that's right. My dad forgets about the sunblock, and my mom tells him off all the time. You mentioned school. Were you good at schoolie?
Oh, no, I was, well, I got through my
I did it.
secondary school years
Yeah.
with a UE, but working in a family business, I was, sort of, hey mate, you get on the machines, get in the trench.
Yeah.
Right.
So I actually I did 1 year of NZCE and New Zealand Civil Engineering course, and but having to work 6 days a week, daylight till dark, and trying to do an NZC on correspondence was just not doable.
Not doable.
So it went by the wayside, but unfortunately, in hindsight, you always say, well, I wish I'd stuck to it. But I guess it was never going to happen in a family business where you're expected to work from
Right.
Yeah.
all hours.
Because your father, he was already involved with development, and is that correct?
Yeah, so my parents come from Whangaproa, actually. They grew up there on the Hibiscus coast. And, they I think all of the kids left, 4 boys and 2 daughters, left school at early age, 14, 15. One of them may have gone to secondary school, I think. I know my father, at a very young age, he headed off down here to Pairoa, and he working on crawler tractors up in the bush, pulling carry logs out of the bush. As a young fella of probably about 15 or 16. So, yeah.
Wow, okay.
It's just the ways back then, eh? You
That's the
just
way.
leave school,
Yep.
do some jobs,
That's
spend
the
some
way.
money.
That's the way. But they soon got into business, and by buying their own crawler tractor and putting lights on it, working at 24/7. Him and his brother, and they forged a partnership between themselves. And for most of their working life, they were did joint ventures on a range of activities, and made a good business out of civil construction and land development. Yeah.
Right. Have you got did you have any other jobs apart from working with the family? Like, did you get into any
Did you have a choice for any other job?
Well, you look back and there was not really any choice. You just fall into it, and it's probably the same for my kids. I've got 2 children, and they are both working in the business, and the business has got the scope for them with various levels of expertise, and you sort of grow up with it. So it becomes natural and instinctive for them to understand the nature of the business, and it's pretty obvious that they can do well out of it if they knuckle in, and rather than heading off to some other shores or wanting to do something else. But it doesn't seem that they've sparked any other passion in life to want to go outside the family business. So.
Right.
Were they like you and started off like in the machines?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Well, not so much from the daughter. She went off to university, so she's got a couple of degrees, and in fact, she's doing a master's this year. So
Oh, nice.
Good
Yeah.
on her.
yeah.
Nice. How? What's the feeling of working with your family? Like, because it's all you know because you've been on this mission. But like, I bet you look around and you see a lot of families that don't get along and they cannot even live together. Imagine working together. And how is the feeling for you? Like to have them so close and.
Well, it's great if it can work for you. As you're quite right, it doesn't work for everybody, and it becomes increasingly difficult with each generation to try and make a private family company work. You know, if for nothing else, then the individual shareholding tends to get diluted over time. You know. We're third generation now, and I've been lucky enough to hold the majority of shares in a family business, and probably the key person to drive it. And now the next generation's coming along, and I've got my son and daughter as well as a nephew in the business, you know, and they each have their own area of expertise, and it's great. And they're supported with an executive team of, you know, expert people that are not family members, but some of them have been around for an awful long time. They may as well be family. You know? They're just a key ingredient. Yeah.
So you're talking about Hopper Developments, right?
Yes. Yeah.
How many people do you have in your team?
We must have a couple of hundred staff now, I think. But the land development side of it doesn't employ a lot of people. You know, it's very much a capital intensive process, and we engage a lot of consultants to do our work. You know, planning and engineering, and a range of specialist stuff along the way these days to do any land development. But more and more, we are getting some key people in house. And then, you know, marketing staff and, you know, accounting staff and managers. And we've also diversified from my father and his brother were largely into civil construction and some land development. And these days we're into a more broader section of activities, still doing civil construction and land development, but also retirement villages and building, and a number of other minor things, aged care, and things like that. So,
right. Yep. Would you say that you found this not necessity, but like you were understanding that it was better to diversify and start going to different areas just to make it more fun for yourself, or it was kind of like no, let's make the business bigger, and it's better if we expand and do different things?
Yeah, those were strategic decisions. Probably about 15 years ago, we made some strategic decisions to diversify.
Right.
Land development has become increasingly more difficult to do under Resource Management Act, and it's also a wasting product. So you get a greenfield site, and you develop till there's nothing more to sell. So you have to create every dollar of turnover.
Is that what's making it more difficult? Is just like
it's become more difficult, you know, to do a whole lot of things in the form of, you know, land development. Or housing or any building anything. The Resource Management Act is well, I've seen it change over the years. We first started, for example, at Pauanui was the first comprehensive coastal development under the Resource Management Act, which came into law in October 91.
Right.
So we were actually working on that project there, and a project is a coastal development project is quite complex. There's plan changes and subdivision consents, and usually got to do structure plans, and then there's a suite of resource consents to undertake to get the regulators' consent for doing the physical works. But then there's also restricted coastal permits that you have to seek from the Minister of Conservation. And you're engaging, because in fully notified applications, you're engaging with the whole community, in fact, the whole world just about, if they want to get involved.
Yeah.
And iwi, you know, you've got to deal with iwi issues as well, more and more these days. Mm-hmm. And so I think under that, if my memory serves me correct, we had from the physical side of building it, we had 8 resource consents. That was in the first year of Resource Management Act.
Wow.
Okay, so 6 years later we came up to here, Whitianga, same physical issues to address, 24 resource consents. And then 6 years after that, we did another one up at Whangarei Harbour called Marsden Cove. Same sort of physical issues again, and that was 37 resource consents. Yeah, I suspect the process would capture you at nearer 80 to 100 resource consents today if you're trying to do one. In fact, we wouldn't try. You wouldn't try. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
You waste
Yeah.
too many decades and too many millions of dollars in the process. So So hence that sort of triggered the need to diversify. And once you identify that, hey, this is a failed business proposition to keep hammering away doing the same old thing, you've got to start thinking about what other activities that are within our skill sets that we could invest in. And so we sort of pitch it trying to do innovative, higher end developments, and so a particular focus on lifestyle. If you look at all our marketing, our theme, everything is about lifestyle, and so within aged care services, we can provide exceptional lifestyle focus for retirement villages and continuum of care right through to aged care, as well. So, yeah.
Leigh, I remember when I came to Whitianga, people were talking about the waterways, and I always remember that a friend said, this area used to be a swamp, was an area that was not very easy to do things there, and Leigh Hopper came and changed a lot of things. So as I mentioned before we started, some people watching this show, they actually don't know our area.
No, and they don't know the history either.
Yeah, can you take us through, just take your time, what was the thing with the waterways? What was your vision like, and what did you come across when you was like, okay, let's get this done? The challenges, and just take us through the journey.
And while you're on that too, just a quick question while he's saying, how much input of it is your vision? The whole design's really cool. How much is your idea?
Right. Well, when we did Pauanui Waterways, my father and his brother did the Pauanui Resort. Okay, they kicked that off, bought the land or part of the land in 1967. So I actually moved down to Pauanui in 1970. Started school in 1970. Used to go across the river every morning on a contraption, a floating tractor that my father made. To catch the bus in Taira and then over to Thames and back every day. So it was quite a long day, but it was fine. And it was a great place to live, but nobody around back in those days. And so they'd been working through the Pauanui Resort. Some years after that, family businesses, we split up and went various ways. My father and myself and my sister. I've got 3 sisters, by the way. One of them's got quite a shareholding and involved. And his brother and his family went another way. So we split the companies up, typical of what often happens in a family business. So we had identified the opportunity with the Pauanui Waterways site that was there. It's nearly 100 acres there on the flatlands, right adjoining the Pauanui Resort. And when you come from a background of bulldozers and pushing dirt around, it's quite easy to identify with what you can do. So we also identified that New Zealand is a nation of water sport and boating enthusiasts, and so we're all quite aware and look enviously across the ditch at Australia, where the people having their boat parked outside the house, and the numerous marina developments, canal housing developments that are over there and elsewhere in the world. So we thought we need to have a go at this. This is all fundamentally doable, okay. And this, as I indicated before, we applied under the Resource Management Act and got into it, and we're able to put that together, and it's been we're just actually doing the last 12 sections in that development this year. So it's just been progressively nibbling away at it in about 3 or 4 stages.
Wow.
Okay? And there's 260 canal front sites in that development. Where each property can park a vessel, significant vessel next to their house. And then while we were building that, we identified and had a good look around the rest of the North Island of New Zealand, particularly around Auckland, within 2 or 3 hours drive time of Auckland. That's one of the critical ingredients. Looking at other potential sites, and I always flying. I've sort of had a pilot's license since I was about 20, so always flying over Whitianga, and we could identify and could see the opportunity, but we were in no financial position to undertake the process at that time, or even buy a substantial stake in the land holdings that were underlying the potential development here at Whitianga. But eventually we got to a point where we could start to pursue it and consider it. So we bought I think it was about 170 acre dairy farm, marginal dairy farm, in the middle of Whitianga flatlands. And I put a bit of a sketch together. So coming back to your question, it's largely my dreams and vision. Yeah. And then we cold called 3 or 4 other landowners that could potentially be partners in the development. And I just simply rolled out a plan and said, guys, look, we can try to make a buck off our marginal land holdings, or we can come to an arrangement essentially where, we'll buy into your properties and then you can convert. That'll give you cash to discharge mortgages, etc., and then convert part of the value of your properties into shareholding. And we formed a development company that encompassed all of the properties between the airfield and the town, essentially. Okay, and that enabled us to pursue a master plan development of much more scale, and address a whole range of things, from a bypass to addressing the flooding problems. Because if you've been around for a while, you'll know that a lot of the streets in the rear Whitianga went underwater, major rainfall events. So bringing a canal or bringing the tide level up into the back of the existing township enabled drainage from that. So this development has avoided the existing community at the time from about, on today's dollar values, about $20 million worth of stormwater works that it would otherwise had to have, the council or the community would have had to install to address that stormwater flooding. So you'll notice there's no stormwater flooding in town anymore. So.
Oh, yeah, no, I haven't been around that long to see that. But.
Yeah. So, that, and we got underway here with the investigation processes and the resource consent processes, and finally got the first stage underway at about the year 2000.
So from the moment you decided to getting the first part done, how long was that for? How long was that process?
Oh, that was about 4 years, I think, from the time we started working on it to the time we were able to put a bulldozer on the land, I guess. Yeah, about 4 years.
Is that pretty standard with most places?
No, it's got longer and longer.
Oh, jeez.
So when, coming back to Resource Management Act again, back in my father's days, you had a surveyor and you had an engineer, a civil engineer. Right, that's all you need to do land development. Occasionally, if you're on marginal land, you might have to go and refer a particular project to a geotechnical engineer, where there might be issues on slippage or that sort of thing. And under the old Town and Country Planning Act, before the days of Resource Management Act, that's all you needed,
Yeah.
But today, the Resource Management Act is effects-based legislation, and anybody exercising powers and functions, like the regulators, district, regional council, and various other agencies, they can call for endless information to assess the potential effects of a proposed activity. You simply go from having a few consultants that might be learned people through to engaging scientists. And once you get into science, as you know, there is no end to it.
Yeah.
You can ask endless scientific questions.
How much of those issues like are environmental? Like how much of it do you have to care before and make sure that that's not going to affect?
Well,
something?
an awful lot, obviously, and a lot of that needs to be done. Obviously, we you can't go polluting the environment, and we do go to considerable lengths, both to investigate any potential adverse effects, and then considerable lengths in the monitoring process during and after construction, or probably indefinitely. In the project, to ensure that the activities that occur within the area of the waterways don't generate any major adverse effects. So there's an ongoing process, and it's quite a big cost associated with that. Measuring everything you could possibly measure, from the turbidity of the water, the salinity of the water, the benthic biota, the enterococci, the virus counts. You just go on, and we got to do that on a regular basis. So, and it's absolutely imperative that we do not pollute the waterways, because they are unique. They're not just unique here in New Zealand, they're unique in the world. So if you go to Florida, where they've got tens of thousands of canal front housing properties, similar to here, or even Australia, nobody swims in those canals because they've got bull sharks and barracuda, things that bite you and sting you. Over here, New Zealand, we don't have anything like that. So it's a perfect environment for swimming. So it's a recreational amenity to everybody living on the canal and to the general public who live in the area. So, and in particular, as we've gone through the design, we've altered the original concepts a little bit. As you learn, we've integrated frequency of beaches and public access. So the canals themselves are vested in a company, it's a management company that we essentially the property owners are financing all of the activities and the maintenance and the management and the monitoring of activities in the canal development. But they have an easement. Each property owner has an easement over that part of the water immediately out in front of their property that identifies where they can place a jetty and moor a boat. And down the middle of the canal, there's an easement in gross in favour of the district council, which allows the public a right of access over what was private property once.
Right.
Okay. So there are considerable benefits to the public at large. The public has a right to access, what was once private property.
Is there any major thing that you see with sea rise levels? Like, is it something that you kind of, obviously, you took those things into consideration, but like, is it something that you look at it and you're like, okay, we gotta come up with a plan, we gotta get this covered, because it's just happening, right? It kind of goes beyond our will.
Is it?
I don't know. You tell me. I don't know.
All I can tell you is what I think I know, and that is that.
Great. That's why you're here for.
What I believe. We had to address potential sea rise level projections back in Pauanui in 1991, and Professor Kirk from Canterbury University did that exercise, if I recall. And there were then concerns that sea rise was an issue, and ever since then, every time we do a subdivision application, the regulator, the district council, makes us review the the climate change projections. This is LTPCC or whatever they call it, the climate change panel on sea rise level. We have to review their latest projections, okay? And the council then, by national policy statements introduced in recent times, is obliged to impose these new minimum floor levels based on the worst case scenario. And that's the worst case scenario for over 100 years out. So the properties might get built on 2 or 3 times or redeveloped several times over that period. But the worst case scenario adopted is that, I think our minimum floor levels now are around about 2 metres or 2 point something metres just above the mean high water level.
Yeah.
Mean high water spring, to allow for all those worst case scenarios, and they do take into account all sorts of things like surge and tsunami and storm run up, and there's a number of things. But because it's a very still environment up a river, you don't have a lot of storm surge risk and things like that. So it's really just sea rise projection and tsunami, the potential tsunamis. And we've had a couple of those. That's an ongoing process, but we have, I think we are now building our minimum floor levels at around about 800 millimetres higher than when we first kicked off in Pauanui in 1991.
Right.
Okay. Now, all I can say is anecdotally, since 1991, we've not been able to identify any change in sea level in our developments.
That's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we are now putting in long-term survey monitoring equipment so that we can have some accurate data over future decades, to identify what the actual change is.
Covering your ass, that's for sure.
Covering it.
Well, it's not so much covering your ass. It's more about having actual data to combat unreasonable conditions of consent when you get embroiled in the regulatory process.
Yeah. Do you have any connection to the beachfront? Because that seems to be a different problem, right?
Yeah, that's the beachfront is different. The beachfront is subject to a high energy environment, unlike the waterway. Up in the estuary, you've got a passive. It's all slow moving water. You do get some lateral sediment removal and a bit of turbidity on high tides, and then we get a bit of sediment intrusion into the waterways with major flood events that are coming out of the catchment, and some of those have been accelerating. We've got the natural environment, the conservation estate, there are naturally slips and sediment's always been coming out of the hills, but we've got some activities in the catchment that create a bit of annoyance, like forestry. It's a big contributor to sediment load in our catchments. And, we have very steep hillsides with, clay and ash soils, and with heavy rainfall, and, and all those events clash in the process of clear felling. Then we get a big runoff, and our rivers and the estuaries go very muddy, and there are some significant impacts. And, we have quite a sediment load. And it costs us around about, I think we're providing about $300,000 a year is our cost to remove the sediment load out of the waterways.
Where does it go to?
Well, at the moment, the lion's share of it goes on barges. So it's picked up and it's put onto large bottom dumping barges, and it goes out to a consented dump site out about 500 metres deep out the back of Kuvio Island.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it bother you though? Like, do you look at what's happening in the beachfronts and you're like, oof, I would not be happy to have those areas on my name, or like it's just what it is.
What it is.
Well, of course, if we do get significant sea rise level into the future, then it's going to become problematic.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But I'm finding a bit of a struggle to identify with just how rapidly the seas might be rising. In the meantime, the regulators, the regional council, and
has a program of trying to maintain our foreshores in the high energy environments with more natural approach to things like sand dune re-establishment and the right sort of grasses that'll hold the sand, and that's a case of understanding how all the processes work, and identifying that there are ways and means that you can protect the foreshore without having to throw a whole lot of rocks on the front.
Right.
But when it does fail and it's imminent and it starts eating away at public assets and roads and private properties, then there's often happens in an emergency situation. You've got to throw some spalls out on the beachfront, and it changes the character of the place, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right. Have you got?
No. Well, actually, I was just going to ask, all the places that you work, where's your favourite?
To work?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
from my house.
From home. I love working from
The
home.
phone.
No, well, we've been promoting our destinations, particularly at Pauanui, Whitianga and Marsden Cove. So, they're all sort of 2.5 hours drive from Auckland. And for years now, we've been promoting that, live, work and play in one of these destinations, get better balance to your life, have a lifestyle.
Hey, that's why I moved here.
With
I
Auckland.
moved here for the same reason.
Exactly, and more people are.
Yeah.
And if anything, last year was our best year in business, and that in part was due to COVID. The closure of the cities has forced people to work from home, right? And that upskilled them. Okay, what you guys do, everyone's suddenly got a whole lot more technical capability now, and they've learned how to work from home, and that means some people like myself can come and live in a place like Whitianga. I can have my boat outside the house. I love going for a swim first thing in the morning and last thing at night over the summer months, and I can work from home. I don't have to be in the office. We've just built a new office, by the way, in Orewa. Town centre, but and our executive team comes there, but a lot of our team does work remotely and from home, and we can do it all. It's all worked quite well.
COVID's gone crazy with that sort of thing. We've had so many families join our community who have, I guess, bought their way out of lockdown. Yeah, so they moved, sent their kids to school with our kids for 2 terms, and when Auckland got out, they went back.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be challenging to see how many CBD Auckland businesses actually re-establish their core and reoccupy their core buildings, or will they scale back, or will it be a bit of a blend, a mix and a match of people having the flexibility to work from home and coming into the office maybe 1 or 2 days a week instead of 5.
Yeah.
Have you ever lived in a big city?
No, not my scene, really.
Not your thing.
No. I'm squarely rooted to the big outdoors.
That's good. That's good. That's way better. Right?
So I know you've got your own home on the waterways, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
Was that in your vision too?
Yes,
there. That's right. That's me. I'm going to live there.
Oh, not so much there, but we've had property at Pauanui ever since we built the Pauanui Waterways. I've still got a batch down there. My kids seem to occupy it most of the time, and. Linda and I are living here in Whitianga, and we enjoy that, and we've got friends that come here, and it's a great base, and because I've been flying most of my adult life, I've got a helicopter here, which makes life easy, and you can get around a fair bit quite readily.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So when I have to go to the office in Orewa, it's only 25 minutes.
Yeah,
25 minutes.
Yeah, ground to ground. Yeah.
And now we have the flight service here in town, right?
It's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, but if you had a helicopter and you could fly, I would just drive it everywhere.
I have never been to one. I don't even.
Oh no, neither have I. But yeah, I would.
It's handy.
Yeah. Do you because you've been flying so often? Do you I'm just gonna? I don't need to go, but I want to. I want to go flying.
Go for a ride.
Well, after years of flying, you don't just go looking to fly. You tend to go because you have to.
Yeah.
But,
So that reminds me that we were talking about the plane building at the Mercury Bay Area School. Is it something that you you got involved? Because I've heard that Leigh Hopper took the kids for a fly.
Oh yeah, took the kids for a bit of a fly on a helicopter. So, but I know Jim Evans, who initiated the program so well, and a lot of time for Jim. I bought a couple of helicopters off him over the years as well when he was in the business back in Ardmore. But I think it's a great program. It's quite unique, and the school has embraced it, and along with some key mentors in the Aero Club and the community, and they needed either a buyer or an underwriter for the next build. So I thought, well, why not? There's nobody's stepped up, and I don't really need a aeroplane, but I kind of like the idea. And and now my she's been thinking about it. Linda, she says, I want to have a go now, so she's going to have a go at a license.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Do you think we are on the right path with the air service in our area? Would you see room for improvement or different things that could be done?
Well, part of the structure plan here from day one was to identify that the airfield was going to be too small. Right, it was too short for air services into here. So the beach end of the airfield was land that we'd acquired in that amalgamation of the property owners when we set up the business. So we very early on did a deal with the Aero Club to give them some land at the beach end of the airfield. So the airfield's now about 1,400 metres long. It used to only be about 750 or 800 metres. So that sort of future-proofed it for larger aircraft, identifying that Whitianga is going to be, or is going to be even greater in future, a destination for tourism. Okay, it's got bundle of prerequisites. There's a whole lot of reasons why you and I are living here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that needed larger aircraft in time. Okay. So, and then we able to identify with a subdivision on the side of that, an air park. Right. So we did a deal with them and extended that. So, that is now being serviced by Cessna Caravans. And those are sort of 12-seaters, fixed undercarriage, single engine, single pilot. They've got an IFR GPS let down into here, so even in inclement weather they can get you in and out. Mm-hmm. And that gets you right through to Auckland domestic. And I think that connectivity is going to be great into the future. It's the right sort of aircraft. They're very quiet, and they come and go. They'll be able to come and go without being a disturbance. So it's fantastic having the airfield right in the middle of town.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Leigh, we bring, I told you before, we bring very different people from our community. And I like to ask the same questions sometimes just to see people's perspective, right? And there's one topic that it always comes to the table, and I was like, cool, Leigh will be an interesting guy to talk about. When you were saying, there will be more people coming from Auckland, and we know that this is good for our town, this is a great thing, brings more opportunity for a lot of people.
Yep.
At the same time, we all know about the housing crisis in the area.
Yeah.
And one very common thing that we talk about here is we are expanding, but people don't even have a place to live. So there's no rentals. The rentals that are around here are expensive because it feels like the prices are all driving up, and then you got to keep up with it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like the wages are going with it. So I always throw that question at people. I'm like, how do you see this whole situation? And as a developer, because I see it as a government thing, we should all have the possibility to afford a house. That's my thing, for me it should be like a human thing, let's all get started the same. You got the roof, you got the opportunity, now you can say we can go for it. That's my thing. That's how I see it. So as a developer, you probably have even a different idea of how to deal with houses for people, for people who cannot afford a cool lifestyle like the waterways would be. Do you have a take on that?
Obviously we do, but it's a universal problem that if you create a highly desirable product, people want it, they pay more for it, right? So the property values go up. You could say same thing happens in Queenstown or Wanaka.
Yeah.
They've got the same issues, okay? So it's very difficult to create affordable housing in a highly desirable, high-value property area. You can't suggest that we should be forced by law to sell a canal front property for $300,000, for example, when the market's prepared to pay $2.5 million for it.
Yeah.
So, and in fact, there would be taxation issues. You can't undersell anything in law. You have to sell it at market value.
At least.
If you sell it at less than market value, I, for example, can't buy a section off my own company at less than market value. Otherwise, I am cheating the Inland Revenue Department or the government out of its share of the tax that the company would otherwise make on the sale of that property, right? So you can't. So then it becomes difficult if you're creating a highly desirable place and it's growing. Property values stay high. Everyone's buying it for all of the reasons. That's all very nice and healthy. And then tourism is part of the ingredient, part of the attraction. We all know what the attractors are here. And then you need to service those industries, and those aren't high-paying jobs. People who work in the hotel industry, for example, service industries to tourism, are not generally high-paying, or they're relatively modest skilled jobs, and so then it becomes very difficult for them to afford to find somewhere to stay. Now, it's really incumbent on the industries that invest in those activities to solve their own employment problems. Okay,
right.
But it also becomes an interest factor in the regulator. So the regulator gets pressure and comments about, I can't afford to come here, okay? So the regulator then, as they've done in Auckland, starts specifying in the conditions of the subdivision consent that a certain percentage of the new residential allotments that are created must be for affordable housing, okay? Well, that's fine, but, where and how and what? And generally, if you say, well, the government should provide it, well, the government can't provide anything very cost effectively, I can tell you. The private sector, they cannot beat the private sector in terms of cost. So the private sector can beat the pants off the public sector any day and make a profit and pay tax in the process, because they're motivated. Motivated. They're proficient. They're focused.
Yes.
But we certainly do identify with the need to integrate more affordable housing in the long term in the fabric of the urban design of future stages of Whitianga, okay? Right. So that the opportunity can grow and emerge for investors in tourism. If you want a major hotel here, how are we going to employ the people? So the capital won't come if the investor can't find somewhere that he can afford, or find an ingredient or a mechanism or a solution to employing staff at competitive, affordable rates.
Right.
So it is a big balance. It is a balance.
Yeah.
And then we've got, for example, I'm very much against where Auckland is going at the moment. So they are making a permitted activity in all of their urban zones to be able to go to 50% site coverage, 3 levels high, 1 metre side boundaries, 3 metre front boundary.
So they're packing them in.
Yeah. So that's just going to be a concrete jungle and there'll be no trees. So our model and everything we do is predicated more on its landscape outcomes as a priority over and above affordability. If you can't deliver urban housing and urban form without the right landscape outcomes, where the place goes green, the trees emerge above the houses, and that's all a matter of density and site coverage.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it's as far as I'm concerned, it's a failed model, and I'm really concerned about the way that Auckland might well go. And we just don't. It's not part of our brand. It's outside the parameters of our brand, and we won't go there. Right. So we would have to provide affordable housing with some certainty that they're still going to be livable communities. And they're not going to disintegrate into something that you or I wouldn't want to live in.
Right. I remember talking to our landlord here, John Stephenson, because he's also part of the what's the name, Taylor? Is part of the group of people who find land that would cost cheaper for people, and he was saying, like, there's this list that it's huge because it's actually hard to find those lands.
It's not possible.
It's not possible, and that, I don't know if I'm being naive, but like, why is it not possible? Is it because like it's already been sold and then the government cannot have that land to share at affordable prices, or
well, the Resource Management Act once again is partly to blame. But also so are the regulators. So in Auckland, for example, I've been developing around Auckland places all my life, and it's the supply of land, suitable land, zoned for that purpose, and the provision of infrastructure to service the development of that land. So it's one thing to zone land, say, well, just zone it so you can go and build houses on there. Then you make an application and the council says, well, I'm sorry, we're not programmed to provide any sewerage or water supply to the boundary of that potential development site for another 10 or 20 years. Yeah. So there's a shortage of supply.
Yeah.
So, and just to show you the degree of that, so underlying rural land, farmland, right, which is the economic basis of it, capitalisation of its potential earnings is about 50,000 a hectare, say, okay? Some rural land, if you're doing orchards and things, can be a lot higher than that, but farmland, grazing land, okay? So why does it go from $50,000 a hectare to $4 million a hectare around Auckland?
Yeah.
Just because someone zoned it. If you supplied enough of the market and serviced it, it would come down significantly. Admittedly, there are more risks associated with that, so with urban development than there are with rural activities, but there's too big a differential, and that's just simply because of the lack of supply.
Right. Okay. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, and it can't just be solved by density. So... Yeah. Various councils have tried to solve it by density by saying, well, we're going to put transportation and we're going to have transport nodes, and you can go 6 stories high if you're near one of these transport nodes. So we'll allow development, apartments, no cars. So they're doing that in Auckland, parts of Auckland now. Hey, you don't have to provide a car. No car. No, you can't have a car. You can buy an apartment, but there's no space for a car.
Yeah.
You can't park on the street.
Yeah.
There's no garaging. So you have to use public transport. Okay, that's fine. But multi-storey apartment living, or the cost of building that, is double the rate per square metre. So a typical house today is getting about $4,000 a square metre for a ground floor house. So you're up to $8,000 a square metre to build strata title, multi-storey stuff. So you're asking people on a fixed income or wealth, whether it's their wealth or their income, or a product of the two, you're asking them to go into half the floor space of a freestanding house out in the suburbs to live in one of those high-rise. So, vertical integration doesn't always provide the solution.
No.
Right. It doesn't. All it does is provide a lot more expensive build and smaller footprints for within the bounds of affordability.
So we're not going to see any high-rises here anytime soon in the city?
No, we've got consent for up to 4 stories in the retirement village, but that's a unique product where the needs of aged people they go into apartments and service departments, and so being an internal part of the community facilities is a model that fits very well. It's a tried and true model.
Right.
Yeah.
What about the medical facilities? Because I remember seeing in your website that you're also part of the new medical facility. You guys are working on it.
Yes, that's right. Yep. So we've that's just started construction, and the doctors are moving in there when it's when they've fitted it out for themselves, and so that'll be great. It'll certainly change the perceptions, and I think give confidence to the community and a growing community, those people that want to come here, that their needs are going to be catered for in a professional, well-positioned service.
Are we not big enough, or there are other reasons involved why a hospital will not suit anywhere close to us?
Well, we've got Thames Hospital, but between government and district health boards, they have their programs and investment policies, and we're not likely to see the emergence of any significant investment by central government here. So that means we've got to look after ourselves. So, and in that regard, we're hopeful that we'll come up with some innovative ways to provide a more expansive health service here to this community. And, we have a large retirement village proposed for there. We're about to start building that this year as well. Mm-hmm. And the entrance shares the same entrance as the medical facility. And the medical facility has been... It's quite a large site there, actually, and it will be a staged program. So we've got capacity for future health service providers to establish on that site, okay, and provide a broader range of services. And we'll be working on that as and when it's appropriate, to get it. But it's also the way we've established it is we've kept the site flexible so that we can optimise how other future services can be integrated and work efficiently together. So that on Joan Gaskell Drive, their access to the community facility will be from Joan Gaskell Drive, and there'll be an interface and parking between the new facility and Joan Gaskell Drive. Immediately behind that, we will have got designed and consented an aged care facility. Now, at the moment, it's consented for 2 stories, but we could review that and go higher over time if we consider that, there's an opportunity here, for example, to put not just an aged care level in that wing or that building, but we might need to provide dementia care. We might need we might need to say, well, look, we need this community needs a birthing unit. It might get to a general surgical unit. And that can physically connect to the doctors and all the other health service providers. So that's how we've designed it, and it's all carefully thought through. So there's maximum flexibility to give maximum efficiency and to enable the broadest range of future health service to be integrated on the one site. Yeah,
that's really cool.
We need it, eh?
Yeah, we so need it.
That's cool. That's good that it's happening. You know, like, is that a deadline or something that we should be expecting to?
No, it's market led. But I mean, our part in this is not so much to retain ownership of the bricks and mortar, but more to control the land to enable the optimization of future stages and future services. If someone doesn't hold the land and think it through, then you'll just get piecemeal. Once you've sold the land, it's sort of, that's it. It's committed. You only get one chance to develop the land and do it once, do it right.
Yeah.
So I think there's a number of opportunities here and ways we could go, and health reforms are bound to have an influence on that over time as well.
Yeah.
DHB is sort of pushing and pulling, and you never know which way they're going to go, with changes in government, etc. So.
Do you see big changes coming with the next election? Not asking who you're going to vote for. Unless you want to share.
Right.
No,
So do you see big changes or the big changes?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't like where the country's going at the moment.
I think
And,
you and a lot of other people
yeah.
are in the same boat.
Yes, I think so. And
Would you be a politician, Lee?
no, definitely not. No. Way too old for that. You've got to be a lot more learned than I am.
I'm sure a lot of people would vote for you, man. That's for sure. I'm sure a lot of people would vote for you.
We've got some good people in the political arena out there to vote for, though.
Yeah.
And, we've got a good chap coming here in a couple of weeks' time. So,
Oh, yeah?
yeah, David Seymour's coming here, I think, isn't he? He's got a whirlwind.
Is Dave Simon coming to
Whitianga.
To Whitianga?
Yeah.
Look at
Are
that,
you friends with
ideas.
him?
On the 1st. I know him. Yeah, I have met him a few times. Yeah.
Can you send him a message? Can we keep in touch? Bring him here. I would love to have a chat with him.
I don't think he's got a lot of
He doesn't
time on
want
that
Oh,
day.
you're already dodging, man. Come on.
No, I know his program for the day, and
Yeah.
he's speaking at Whangamata,
Cool.
Pauanui and Whitianga, and maybe Thames. I think he might have
Oh, cool. So he's
in a day.
Cool.
So yeah,
Okay.
he's got a busy
Yeah.
day. I know he's here, but
Nice.
pretty busy man, I think.
Okay, I'll
I
try
can imagine.
I'll try to meet him. At
Yeah,
least.
that's
and
the
then
story.
next time. It's a start, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always invite him.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Because that's the thing for us. Like, it's a chat that we like to have here
Yeah.
with people. Like I just like to feel people's vibes and see what
Yeah.
they're up to. And it's a platform. Like
Yeah.
whatever he's up to, like this will be a platform.
I've had
for
a couple of
politicians.
chats with him, and he's a very intelligent chap. And I'm always mindful of listening to a podcast of Leighton Smith's, and Leighton was talking to him one morning. I was listening away there, and at the end of it, Leighton said, "Well, I've had chats with a lot of politicians in my life, but I don't believe I've ever had a more intellectual discussion with any other politician, as the one we've just had." So, that gives you some idea of his scope and he's just fantastic.
I hope for the future.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
he would run for MP, right? Is that right? For Prime Minister. Is that what he would go for?
He's heading the party, but judging by the polls at the moment, he'd had some part in a coalition if we have a change of government, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
David Simon. I'll keep my eyes open for that. That would be a cool chat. That would be interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm sure you'd find it very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's a bit younger than the rest of the
Yes.
candidate. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
would be a cool
That'd be
chat.
cool.
Yeah.
So if he gets stalking at you, you'll be stalking him.
Yeah. I'll be like, hey man, hey, I'm friends with Lee. Nah, I'm joking. Lee, what gives you a bigger buzz, man? Is it like driving fast cars, being on a boat, or flying an airplane?
Well, I took up Targa Rally, must be about 12, 15 years ago.
Well, what
now.
is it? What is it?
Targa Rally. It's a tarmac rally. So it's a business. Chap Peter Martin does the business, and and you pay dearly to enter a race. And there's a significant process to pre-qualification, both with your licenses and with your motor vehicle.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting one. You get to drive New Zealand rural roads.
Yeah.
And it takes you into some places that you wouldn't ordinarily go. And maximum speed is 200 kilometres an hour. But there's no limit around the corners. You go as fast as you can around the corner. And nobody throws a car off the road on a straight. It's always on a corner.
Have you done that?
Oh, yeah, I've wrecked about 7 cars off.
Hey, fun.
Fortunately, haven't had a scratch yet. But but so it takes you around the country, and you have these special stages where it's a closed road. The road's every gate is taped off, and they have people go through and sweeps that come through, and you've got a rally safe unit in your car, and if you're catching someone or someone's catching you or someone needs help and they've gone off, and there are rules, you've got to stop and help them and all that sort of stuff. But it's just like all motor racing. It's fast and it's furious. And
Does your wife go with you?
No.
She doesn't want to know.
No.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
I've got about a 600 horsepower Subaru, so it's a rocket ship. And if we get to the end of an event, some of the events are just 2 days, and some of them are 5 days. And you're racing sort of from daylight to dark, and then you drive on the open roads at the speed limit to the next closed stage, and you've got it's all timed like a rally, and off you go, and flat out you run, and you're racing your clock. You know?
Yeah, is the gap between
each
on the
participant?
main? Yeah, is it hard? Like to go the speed limit?
Oh,
After
no. That's quite
you're like,
that's a bit of relaxation
so
between stages.
So maybe like in other countries, what was the fastest? Have you been to other styles of like races that you could?
No, I haven't really. No, I've just stuck because my eldest son, he's since deceased, but he got me into it. So I've just carried it on, and there's a bunch of friends. There's a lot of camaraderie in it. It takes you around the country, and
when you say the maximum speed is 200, is it the fastest you've gone? No.
We're live, Leigh. We're live.
You can just say yes because if your wife's watching.
I've been faster on the track.
Are you into Formula One?
Not really. No, I'm not really into motor racing, or from a spectator point of view.
Because those guys go fast, eh?
Yeah, and I don't like much the track racing either. I don't know why, but it's just
not for you.
I love to go and do the Targa Rally, and there's usually about 3 events a year, and that's enough. It's expensive enough, and trying to keep the car going and getting there and accommodation and back, and the family's involved in that as well. So my nephew is my motorsport mechanic, and my sister and brother-in-law come along with their vehicle, and they help out with one of the crew, and
keep it in the family.
Yeah. No, so it's a bit of a thing. We get around a bit. But coming back to what you're saying, that's fun. That's fast and furious. Kind of get the DTs. I've been without a helicopter for a couple of months, and I get the DTs because they're very addictive. Just best machine man's ever invented. Having control of 3-dimensional control of space in a machine that you operate. It's just an extension of your brain, and what you can do with them is it's quite captivating.
Yeah.
So, what's the name of those ones that you don't need a motor? That they just those very long
lighter things.
Very long and light ones? What's
gyrocopter.
Gyrocopter.
Yeah, they're the principles of a helicopter, except...
Have you been into one of those?
No, I haven't actually. No, I've never flown.
That must be a bit of a thing, eh? To just know that it's all about the winds. And
I think even the helicopter, I'm checking, I don't like it. Any little bit of turbulence is like, no, this is it, guys. We're out.
You look like one of those guys that just go... take someone next to you, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna make you have some fun now. I'm gonna
trying to behave myself in old age like you're supposed to. But and the boating's great. I mean, a place like Whitianga here, we just got such a wonderful coastline, and the Mercury Islands. I'm forever taking people out here, and they just can't believe what we have here. I took somebody out here the other day. He's from Auckland. And he's a lawyer, and lived in New Zealand all his life, in Auckland. Never been to the Coromandel.
Wow.
He's just turning 60, and he just, I cannot believe this place. Nobody's told me what's here, and let alone the waterways. You take them out there to Mercury Island, go to Peach Grove on a beautiful sunny day, and the water is turquoise and it's crystal clear, and there's still a lot of New Zealanders don't know what we have here. So
was he looking at real estate when he left?
He was. He's coming back.
He's coming back.
Yeah.
It's hard to, I mean, the same reason we moved here. Once you come a couple of times, you're like, I want to live there.
Yeah, no, it's
and
lovely.
then, like you said earlier, with I guess with everyone being able to work from home, we're better asked to have a home than at the beach.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
it's, coming back to that, I mean, it's sort of, we've got high-speed broadband coinciding with COVID.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect storm to make people think about moving out of the cities.
Exactly, yeah.
And just get a better work-life balance. And
Definitely.
Yeah.
Lee, would you go to space?
No.
Because nowadays you can, right? Nowadays you can go on those trips that
there's a few $1 million.
I know. Not saying that you can afford, man. I'm just asking if you would.
If you got asked for a free ride to space, would you go?
No, I don't think so.
No, thank you.
Not that much. Not much.
No. I'm enjoying life at this
level.
Not
explored enough yet.
Don't want to push the boundaries too far, do you?
Yeah.
What if there was an opportunity for Hopper Developments to get some land in the moon or somewhere else? I don't know, man. I'm just throwing it. I don't know. Some people buy it.
I don't think it'll be marketable.
There's this famous comedian Steve-O, and he paid. Do you know Steve-O? He used to be from Jackass. He paid to go on on a trip to space and made a clip and everything. And you look at it and you're like, wow. If you got that money, it looks fun. Yeah. It looks fun. You gotta be brave, but it must be a cool view, from up there. I'm like,
I think the plane's high enough for me. Like that's view from the top enough. Not any higher. I don't know. Space now.
I think there's plenty of thrills and spills you can have on the ground here.
Yeah. Is that you? If you got offered, you're out. You're off to the moon.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They would probably keep me there. They would kick me out.
Yeah.
Keep him there, man. Stay there.
Drop him off.
Yeah. I would probably give it a go.
There's so many things to do in New Zealand here, though. I mean, New Zealand's just a playground, isn't it? It's fantastic. We just did last weekend a 5-day trip down to the top half of the South Island in helicopters. 8 helicopters in what we call a heli safari, and great bunch of people, and you go and visit places that you just simply you can't get to by car, and they're too far to walk even, and explore those places, and along the way we do a bit of canoeing at Kaitiri Beach or shooting at Cable Bay, or and you get into some places and land up in the hills and down in the valleys and the mountains where there's just nobody around, and pull out the picnic basket, and it's fantastic. Yeah.
Lee, if it was not the Coromandel, what other places in New Zealand are you really in love with that you would consider living at?
Oh, well, it comes back to your question before. Where is your passion really? And it's boating. I don't think I could live anywhere other than on the water. So I've got to be able to see the water. I like to put the blinds up every morning and look out over the canal, and so New Zealand's coastline from Tauranga to North Cape, that's just stunning. That's the bit that attracts me the most. I could live anywhere on the beach, I think, somewhere. Handy, but
are you a keen fisherman as well? You get out there and fish?
We do a bit, yeah. My son's pretty keen, and son-in-law they do a fair bit of game fishing and things, and diving, and so it's nice to do that. The family's into boating, and we enjoy that. It's part of the culture of our business, I guess. It's a sort of one of those sort of common denominators that we're all engaged in. And we have boating rendezvous at the barrier and fishing competitions and things
that's
like
cool.
Yeah,
good.
Lee, what about overseas? What are your favorite places? Where have you been to that you were like, oh, okay, I like those countries? I'm sure you love New Zealand with all your heart, but like all the places overseas that you really enjoy going to and spending time?
Oh, well, I've sort of had a good sniff around. China and Japan and parts of Asia and Indonesia and right through Europe and
South America,
and I have done some of South America. Yes, yep. No, we did the 4-day hike into Machu Picchu.
Oh yeah, cool.
Out of Cusco, and then where did we go down to? Down further down south in Buenos Aires and into the Amazon and Rio and all those sort of places, I suppose.
That's so cool.
How did you find Rio?
It's interesting.
Good fun.
Not my place. No, polluted.
It is, it is sad. Yeah. It's such a beautiful place, but polluted.
South Africa but nowhere else in Africa at this stage. But bits of America, of course, there's plenty there. But COVID,
you didn't go shooting animals in South Africa, did you?
No, I'm not into that. Woo! No. I had a gun license years ago, but never renewed it. So,
yeah.
Good on you. But South Africa was fun. South Africa was an
interesting place. Yeah, perhaps not quite so interesting these days. It's a little bit security's a bit of an issue, isn't it? There at the moment, these things change. But I mean, there are places I could go back to, and I'd like to take Linda to back into Rome on the history and Venice and a few of those sort of places, and we are working up some concepts around doing a bit of cruising. Around the Greek islands and things like that. Nice. You've got to have some plans and goals, but
definitely.
But our most immediate goal is to try and get the boat ready to do a trip up to Tonga and Fiji this winter if we can.
Right.
But there's a bit to do with that. There's got to do a medical course and a survival at sea course, and the boat's got to be reconfigured for heavy weather and things.
Do you go often to the Pacific Islands? Like, have you seen a lot of progress and development in those places?
You've been to most of the islands. I haven't been to up to Tahiti, I suppose. That's about the only place I haven't been up there. There's lots of little islands up further north as you get up around the equator, but haven't been to those. But we've actually got an interest in some land in Fiji that we were going to do a development, but I think it was the week after we actually purchased it, settled, the second coup occurred. And, you've just never been able to find the confidence to advance the project. But we've got a lovely design project there, just 5 minutes Lautoka side of Nandi Airport. Once again, it's coastal and suitable for hotels and canal housing and a new port and a golf course and all that sort of stuff, but just haven't found the confidence to launch into it yet.
Yeah, right.
And then along comes COVID, and you got to have all of the prerequisites to sort of have to align to before you go and commit to those projects, because you can typically, end up with $100 million on any one of these projects. Of the scale, say here at Whitianga, it's a lot of capital to launch in, and there's a lot of risk if things don't go right.
How did you find COVID? Like the whole experience, like now that we can kind of look back and see it, and check, like considering a little bit of everything, like emotionally, and also as a businessman, a person who is following, the issues that are going to come in a few years, and it's already happening with finances. So how was your experience?
I found it a necessary process. There was a lot of uncertainty around it. It was appropriate to lock down for a bit. It's becoming less seemingly appropriate. It gets a bit wearing after a while, doesn't it? No, I didn't find it too bad. I ran into a little bit of a problem with the constabulary, and by handing out Easter eggs when we were under lockdown off the front of the boat out of a box. But so we went around to lighten things up a little bit, offering Easter eggs out of a box on the front of the boat, so keeping our distance. One or two people found that offensive and
there's always one or
dubbed
two.
us in.
There's always one or two.
So, they were fine.
Yeah.
Do you think New Zealand's going to bounce back? It's going to deal well with what's coming ahead of us?
Very difficult. It's an interesting question, isn't it? Yeah. Yes, I think there will be a desire for people to come here. Look what's happening in Ukraine at the moment. There's a lot of people, quite wealthy people, that eke out a bolt hold here in New Zealand. Want to have somewhere they can go. Well-heeled people, a lot of them down in Queenstown, Wanaka area. They'll probably discover this area, Coromandel as well.
So,
eventually.
Yeah.
And we've probably got a few here now. And it'll be interesting.
Right. How do you? What's your approach with and your relationship with technology, with your phone? How much time do you spend on your phone?
Not a lot,
Not
actually.
a lot. Good on you.
No, because I'm in the semi-retired mode.
Yeah.
Try to keep away from the coalface in terms of what's happening in the business.
Yeah.
And we've got a great crew of people, and it's giving them the autonomy to get on and do things. So just keeping up with the frequency, the number of directors meetings is all I can handle. Right. So that's enough for me. And then trying to have a good balanced life with Linda and start building a bucket list and ticking it off. If you don't do it now, when you've got all your faculties and your health and mobility.
Yeah. You don't want to use the medical facility here. You just want to go and cut the band at the end, at the start of it. Inaugurate.
So we're making lots of plans. And
when you do get out and about, do you go and visit like your development sites? Is you just too many?
Very much so. I probably don't do that enough, actually. My daughter's got me all sorted on that front, and I'm lined up to turn up at different places and different projects.
Do you let them know you're coming, or do you surprise visit them?
Sometimes I surprise visit them, but we was up there the other day at a retirement village we're doing out at in West Auckland, or up at Huapai, actually, and I turned up there by car, and the manager was very disappointed they didn't turn up by helicopter because she wanted to get the school kids over across the road to have a little chat about helicopters and things.
That's kind of cool.
And then we've got another retirement village up at Marsden Cove, a waterfront one, quite unique, and so the local manager managed to get me in at Christmas time into a Santa suit, and I turned up there with a bag of goodies.
Yeah.
As Santa dressed, and the helicopter turned up on the front door. So it was fun. It was a bit of fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Did you have to put something on your your belly? And
go through that process.
Great. Do you remember when you were a kid when you realized that Santa was not? Kids.
When Santa was not from New Zealand,
he was
from the North Pole.
How was your thing with like fantasies and like reading stories and interacting with all this? It's past 10, isn't it?
It's not. It is.
Kids are gone, aren't they? Oh. Love Santa. Santa was here actually last Friday.
And he's not from New Zealand. That's what we're talking about.
Santa was here last Friday, just sitting there. I'm not joking. Yeah. He had time off for himself.
Yes.
Do you remember those? Do you have those memories as a child, like to play and go like for Easter? How to say Easter hunt?
Hunt. Yeah.
Oh, we just had one on the weekend at my sister's place at Pauanui. She's got a section next to her house, and it's just a lovely garden.
Oh, nice.
And she gets all the kids in the neighbourhood there. There must have been 30 kids there, and she'd planted a couple of 100 Easter eggs around her garden, and it was just massive to watch the kids having a wonderful time.
Kids on devices these days, and they just like to sit and chill, but hide a couple of Easter eggs and they're off. Yeah, they're crazy. Kids are nuts for it.
What about social media, Leigh? Do you use social media like Facebook? And
I'm not very good at it.
Not your thing.
Not really.
So you don't have a TikTok?
No, I don't have a TikTok. We have a Facebook. We have a Facebook page, but I'm terrible at posting stuff on it. So and it was really for trying to just promote our products and services more than personal stuff really. But I'm terrible at it. But we've got a marketing department. They're fantastic at it.
Yes.
They're out there doing all sorts of great stuff.
Because that's what it is nowadays, right? You
absolutely.
You gotta be there.
Yeah, right? No, more and more. Social media seems to be the platform of choice, and producing the goods, and you can monitor the effort. Unlike a lot of other traditional media, it's very difficult to get any feedback on what's performing, what works, what doesn't work.
Right. You mentioned the iwis, and we were talking about land. How does it work for a developer to have the Maori lands and being aware of all the negotiations that go through, like, okay, yeah, we can do this, we cannot do that. Like, how is the relationship as from a developer with someone who owns?
Well, I mean, you're required in law, but it's also necessary and incumbent on a development to work with local iwi and relate to cultural matters and local matters of interest. And we're very lucky here with Ngāti Hei. They're fantastic. They're realistic, and we're not dealing with too many tanifas, that intangible things that are difficult to address. I think they a progressive iwi can benefit a great deal by investment and development and opportunity, and by working with some of the investors, and as we do with Ngāti Hei, it's great.
Yeah.
Right. Is it Joe Davis? Right?
Joe, Joe's, we have a long-standing relationship with Joe, and right from the onset here, we worked up a protocol, over about discovery, tauhonga and things like that, and working relationship and employment. So that worked quite well, and we got some jobs for some people, and but not forced. If they're no good, like anybody else, you can't. You can't persevere with people that aren't productive for whatever reason. So, but that worked very well, and we have ongoing discussions with Joe in particular about other opportunities, and I think Whitianga in particular, it is going to be a tourist destination, and international value and attraction, and in there will lie some opportunities for Ngāti Hei, for sure, and other investors. And a lot of small business. I mean, look how many excursions and operators there are here now, and there's so much to do. It's endless.
That's right.
The activities that can be created. My mind just goes across to one project that we've got on at the moment. So we've got about 350,000 cubic metres of surplus topsoil to come off the Waterways development area. Some of it we've been sort of stockpiling and putting aside to enable us to continue to develop. We could take it all to, or could have taken it all to a rural farm site filled in a valley or something, but rather than do that, and for a similar cost, we've worked up a deal with the council to create a concert arena park on the north side of the airfield. So you'll see truckloads of topsoil going in there, and progressively over the next 10 years, roughly, all of that material will be relocated, and we'll have a significant arena made of topsoil, landscaped. You'll be able to sit up in the grass. So
pretty cool.
that's sort of...
It's a bit of you.
The musicians say thank you.
So that's going to be an event establishment. The asset value of that will be in the millions to create. So once you've got that, promoters of various activities will want to be part of it, and they'll want to use it. So your concerts, or you could have major sporting events, market days, car shows. I mean, who knows? Once you've got a great physical facility there, promoters will come out of the woodwork everywhere. And I think the one concert we do have here annually, the summer concert, which is on our land, we've made some land available for them to use. I saw an economic analysis of that, and that was considered to produce about $9 million worth of benefit to the economy over the weekend or so, leading up to, during, and post that event. So, if you imagine if you get half a dozen of those, the benefit to the economy is phenomenal, and the council will be able to clip the ticket on that and get a share of the revenues, or a lease, or whatever is appropriate according to the event.
We talk a lot about that here, and that's one of the things that Taylor and I, we have this vision with the platform that we're starting now, and it's small, and we're putting all our time and money and efforts into it. But like, we see the potential for this area to bring so much more culture. You know, like it really hurts from people who come from big cities. Like, of course, the lifestyle, it's unbeatable. We would never complain about the lifestyle. But like that thing with like, having a gig, you know, every week, every second week, you know, there's a little festival or something happening. And
that's right. Yeah.
So what you're saying adds so much value to it because you need the proper venues for it, right? Like we have amazing small venues who are bringing things, but like if you have the proper structure, you attract much more, right?
Yeah. Well, even during these tough COVID times, you know, some communities, I was up in Newmarket and Queen Street a couple of weeks ago, and gosh, you know, there's nobody there.
Quiet,
Whereas, you know, it's very difficult to find a car park in this town in the middle of the week.
I was just saying that coming here tonight, I had to park around the corner. It's so busy outside.
Busy.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's great. So I think Whitianga has weathered the the economic implications of the COVID and the lockdown quite well, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
What music are you into?
I'm not a muso.
Oh.
But like,
no,
you listen to music. Oh, no, not your thing. You read a book.
Time. I don't have time. I don't even have time to read much. I'm terrible. I can't pick up a fiction book.
Yeah.
I just can't. I haven't got the
Podcasts?
well, I listen to some podcasts. Something interesting. But if I don't spend time every evening on the computer dealing with my emails, it just comes down around your ears. So you just don't find time.
That's interesting. Like, would you get confused if there's music playing and you're trying to write?
Yes, I probably would. Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. No, I'm pure 100% male, mate. One thing at a time, you know. They can't multitask.
Yeah.
It's gonna make you
It's gotta be
confused.
simple for me.
Wow, that's interesting. Not being into music. That's an interesting one. You don't hear that often.
No, so we're not going to ask you what are you watching on Netflix. You're like, nothing.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
No.
Occasionally, Linda and I'll sit down and relax, watch something.
Oh yeah, what's the guilty
but
pleasure?
She tends to
picks.
take control of the remote more often than I do. So
And you fall asleep.
and she
while
likes comedy.
watches.
Oh, okay,
She likes comedy, or a
least it's easy
chick
to
flick
follow.
that I have to bear.
Yeah.
Great. Wow, that's cool. So very committed to the work that you're doing. Hey, like you're passionate about it, right? It's like you love spending time and doing it.
Yeah, it is. Well, we're doing some interesting stuff, and it's great to see the next generation coming through, and we're in a good position for them to take the company forward to new heights and do wonderful things. And I've made a decision that we've got a succession plan strategy, and when I'm bedridden one day, I'll be quite happy to lay back and see how they go with it.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have a quick look at our chats because, as I said, this show is live, so there's a bunch of people watching us and they send comments. So why don't you tell us a little bit about watching the development happening in Matarangi?
Actually, it's been so it's right next to the fire station, and I don't know if you've spent much time out there, but that's where the bus goes.
Yeah.
The local school bus. It's actually been quite even for the kids watching it. So 1 week there was cows on there, and then diggers, and all the kids love the diggers, but it's actually come really far. I don't think it's even been going for that long, has it? Now, obviously the behind the scenes and resources has probably been years, but
it has. It's been there. Matarangi started a long time ago.
Yeah.
But like everywhere, been through good times and bad.
Yeah.
And the good times seem brief.
I think we're in a good time now with it.
Yeah, it has been. Winton have been doing the development out there, and they've struck a pretty good period. And we're actually doing the civil construction works for them under Hopper Construction. You'll see our equipment out there.
I know quite a few of the guys.
Yeah.
To generate a lot of work.
Yeah, they do. It does.
Out there, so many locals working out there, which is awesome.
Yep. It's all good.
Love it.
I got a couple of cool messages from our friends at home. Well, first of all, Silver Shadow said, Leo and Christine have great flow today. Awesome, guys. So
That's my husband. Thanks for watching.
there you go. Someone said, yay, Leo is back. Yay. Well, Billy is asking a question, but I think we kind of like touched there already, but I'm going to read it anyway because it's a cool comment. She says, Leigh, I'm living in the Coromandel area for about 35 years. The development that Hopper did is amazing. However, it's getting hard for ordinary people to find a rental in the area. Do you see any solution? So we kind of already touched that. Would you like to add anything to that, or because you did?
Well, all I can really say is, as we alluded to before, that we're mindful of it, and so is the council, the regulators, and that part of the future development lands will incorporate and will need to incorporate some more affordable housing. And that's all part of a balanced environment for the workforce that's going to be required here.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you. And we also have a question from Mary. By the way, Billy and Mary sticking to us, watching our shows, we really appreciate it. Leigh, when will the Whitianga Waterways development be completely done?
I wish I knew that. These things all take twice as long as you imagine they will at the onset. And if you knew they were going to take this long, I'm not sure you do them.
Right.
But if it wasn't for inflation, you wouldn't be able to survive them economically. But, Whitianga certainly got to a point now where people can see it for what it is. They understand it, what its amenity value is, and they're paying good money for the product. And so there's a good steady sell down. And I'm picking that we'll probably take another 10 years to finish the comprehensive development consented area that we have between the airfield and the town at the moment. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
There you go, Mary.
So, but there's also a number of other elements to that as well. So, wouldn't expect people to understand or know, but we have a policy of reinvesting half of our tax-paid earnings back into long-term, low-return, high-risk infrastructure. Okay, so an investment in the medical centre is a very poor investment from our point of view. Okay, the returns from the rental are so low, not even sure it'll cover the cost of debt by the end of this year.
Wow.
But the point is we need to reinvest a big chunk of our earnings that we make out of selling residential property, which has good margins in it. We need to reinvest that back into infrastructure that this community is going to need.
Yeah.
And waterfront retail, the retirement villages, the medical services. We've had to invest in the warehouse and placemakers and Countdown supermarkets.
Right.
We have a need for future marine services. There'll be 1,000 vessels in this catchment eventually on completion, and those are all. They've probably got an average value of over $500,000, and they need services. They need people to work on them, to maintain them, and they need hauling out hard stand services. So you've got to invest in that. There's no pot of gold in terms of returns in investing in those, but they're a critical ingredient to a well balanced and successful growing community.
Right. Do you buy Bitcoin?
No.
No. Not your thing.
It's not tangible enough for me to understand remotely. It's just speculation. You might as well buy gold. At least it's tangible.
Right. I struggle to wrap my head around it. I know a little bit about it.
So you don't buy Bitcoin or...
I have a little bit of Bitcoin.
What's the other thing? NFTs?
NFTs. Yeah,
I don't understand.
Nah, not your thing, Leigh.
No. It's just speculation.
Yeah.
You're speculating. You're buying something, an electronic bit that might you expect to be worth more, that you can sell for more than you paid for it in future. And as simple as that. And that's just speculation in my view. Right. No, we're developers. We actually create and add value.
Yeah.
So I'm not a speculator. I haven't spent $1 on speculation.
Good on you, man. Just a few things before we wrap up. We had Abby Lawrence here, and she was very nice when we were talking about you. She's like, "Oh man, Leigh's gonna come, great guy." So yeah, just a shout out to Abby for supporting your visit. She put us in touch, which is pretty cool. And this table was made by Roger Harwood, which is from the Coral Wood, and he was another guy who he would say, "Oh man." Because I think he worked or he met your father. So at the time he had a good relationship. And he was the same. He was like, "Oh, you're going to learn a lot from Leigh, you know, like I really support you guys like trying to bring him because you guys are going to have a good chat." So there were a few people who came here who put a good word
good.
About you.
It's all good.
Do you like the table?
I love the table. Yeah. No, it's lovely. I got one a bit similar in the barbecue area in the house as well. A big chunk of teak it is actually, but this will be a native, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a piece of cowrie.
Yes.
Looks lovely.
Thank you.
Ask Taylor how heavy it was.
Are we? Oh yeah. Oh sorry. We have one more question, if you don't mind.
No, absolutely.
From Ross Liggins. Hi, Leigh. My property borders your newly acquired Whitianga farmland at Wharekaupo. Can you tell me what you have planned for this land and an approximate time frame for it? Thanks, Ross Liggins. I don't know if you know Ross.
Sure. Okay. So we've had one parcel there for some years, and we've just acquired an adjoining parcel of land that gives us the ability to get better optimization and a better plan for the roading and reserves network, overland flow paths and things. So we're working on a plan there. It's quite extensive. It gets notified, and working with a number of affected parties. But it'll be a relatively low density development, what you probably call in parts medium standard residential sections, 6, 7, 800 square metres, and then some larger lots, because the contour is such that you need to provide you can't get subdivide steep country and things. There's quite a bit of bush in there. Probably one of the biggest attractions will be a walkway that we've got to create up the stream through there, and we've been working with the regional council on that, and with Joe and Ngāti Hei, and we'll have still got some bits to do with adjoining landowners about getting a great cycle pedestrian way up through the valley that connects into other people's adjoining lands, the back of there. So the regional council's got some good ideas and a good view to providing good connectivity there. So it'll be a nice wooded green urban development with public access through it, and hopefully a little cafe and overlooking a little stormwater lake that we have to build down the bottom. That'll give the locals a bit of character.
Yeah, there you go.
An amenity. Yeah.
There you go, Ross. That's for you, my friend. Cool. We just got a last comment saying, very informative and interesting interview. Best interview so far from Richard, from Chucky. Thanks, Chucky. Cool. What a pleasure, Leigh. That was cool, man. Thank you so much for coming and having a chat with us. Do you wanna say anything or wrap up for us? Like anything that we should be expecting, or any messages to our Mercury Bay community?
Oh, not really. I mean, just it's nice to impart actually, and I appreciate the invitation to come and talk to you about, because a lot of people don't necessarily understand our passion for the area, and how we want to do the right thing and create opportunities for other people, and to invest and be able to establish an income and live here and enjoy the great outdoors like we do, those of us that are here, and it's all about attracting more people, more investment, and it's just got to be done carefully so that it doesn't end up like a lot of other cities. If it's well planned, well designed, we can't afford to denigrate or degrade the environment, and it can all be done with a bit of care and attention to doing things right. And it's I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an exciting place to live the rest of my life, I think. Yeah, so yeah, I hope most other people do enjoy the same.
Yeah,
that's right.
Thanks for the invitation, guys.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for being here and for clarifying. We were talking about the importance of a long chat, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to take time.
Yeah, that's right.
To explain things, and people can get the vibe of whoever is doing the thing out there in the world. So we actually appreciate you coming and spending some time here with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Cool. And you guys at home, thank you so much for watching the show and for supporting our platform. Just a quick reminder, we're live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, always bringing interesting people to have these honest and laid-back conversations. You guys are always welcome to join in and send your questions. So thank you so much for your support. The best way to make this platform grow so we can keep bringing awesome people is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're working on a membership platform where you can support Taylor and I, because so far we're doing our full-time jobs and coming here to the studio and not sleeping that much, but we love what we do, just like Leigh. So we're putting the hours and we're putting the love. So soon you guys will be able to support us a little bit so we can expand and bring more interesting people to Whitianga, right?
That's right.
Because if we work together, we go far. That's for sure. Peace, my brothers and sisters. It's a pleasure to see you, and we'll be back on Wednesday. Bye.